And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Talk with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? This is the Big Hawk. Excited to be in the studio. We have a great pod for you, man. It is just, let me tell you something. It is one of the most beautiful days out in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So I hope everybody has gotten to get outside and enjoy this beautiful weather we have going on right now.
Oh, yeah. And now here I am, sitting here in a hoodie in my house, podcasting. My wife pushing my son around the neighborhood so he doesn't scream in the background. Yeah, it is nice out there, man. Super Bowl Sunday as we record this. UNC, good day to be a Tar Heel for a change, man. A little W over Pitt. We'll get into that. Prep for the game against Clemson coming up today. We're going to push this out on Monday instead of Tuesday. So if you're listening, I'll play tonight. And Clemson coming off a big win. We'll talk about what that might mean in the conference play. But we'll get back here. UNC pulling it out 67-66 at Pitt or against Pitt at home. It just dropped one on the road to Pitt, so pretty big win coming back. Wins have at times been hard to come by. Heels need everyone they can get right now to get in the tournament. So, where do you see? We'll get into the recap of the game, but let's start off T by, just getting the rundown of where Tar Heels are.
All right, so we'll go over to the whole overview, and I really like this segment, stacking it up, see where we are in the whole college basketball landscape. First of all, our net ranking, again, this is put out from the NCAA. This is what they use to determine seedings and other things like that. I say it every time. That's the only really ranking I listen to or I place a lot of emphasis on. Our net ranking right now is 45, 45th in college basketball. I still think we're on the outside looking in as far as it comes to the tournament and whether we're in or out. I think we need a couple more good wins to really justify us being overly confident saying we're in the tournament. 45th's not that bad, but we need to improve, and I think we need to get a few more quality wins to really confidently say we're in the tournament. Again, I'll go over the whole quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 situation. So we have one quad 1 win, and again, let me just verify. That would be over UCLA. That's considered our best win so far, and I would have to agree with that. UCLA is playing good right now. I think they're on like a 7-game win streak. So it looks like pretty confidently they're going to stay a quad 1 win. And we do have a quad 3 loss. That is our worst loss against Stanford at home. That one hurt us, and a quad 3 loss will definitely hurt your resume. It does not look good. But with that said, we have no quad 2 losses, and we have no quad 4 losses. Only losses come in quad 1, and we have one in quad 3. And looking at the ACC standings right now, we're in 7th. That's not that good. Obviously, there's some room to improvement right there. We're starting to begin the back end of our conference schedule. So still a lot of conference games to be played, and a lot of, things could change, especially pretty soon when we start playing some of these big-time games we have coming up, especially against Clemson. And, so that's where we are in the overview. And, before we jump into our Pitt recap, I just want to say that the Pitt game at home was a big game because a lot of people, a lot of experts or analysts kind of viewed this game as whoever wins this game is going to get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to seeding in the tournament. And a lot of people have us and Pitt kind of like very close in the net. In our net rankings, they're very comparable. Pitt was 47th. We're 45th. And so that's why this game was so important. But, yeah, Sleep, that's where we are in the whole overview of college basketball right now.
Yeah, so it's still, look, I think there's two obvious games, Clemson and Duke. I think I think my question, again, and we don't like getting ahead. I know you don't like getting ahead of ourselves, but the reality is I personally think you got to win those two games to get a tournament. Maybe you got to win one. I mean, you at least got to win one to get a significant win under your belt. That's just really all we've got left, I think. And I guess my question is, do you think there's here's my question. Do you think there's a way in without winning either one of those games? Do you think there's a way in only winning one of those games? Or do you think there's a way in, the only way in is win both of those games?
I sit here and I say if we don't
tournament notwithstanding, obviously, because if you win that, you're in anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's my thing is, I don't think we get in if we lose Clemson and Duke. And listen, these are our only quad one opportunities left on the schedule. The way it is right now, at Clemson's a quad one opportunity, and home against Duke is also a quad one opportunity. There's no more quad one games after that left on the season, in regular season. Now, here's my thing. We have to win one or two of those. I think we can get in if we win one. If we win two, if we win both those games, barring that we're not going to lose. Now, Miami is a quad four game right now, and listen, you do not want a quad four in your resume. That does more.
Yeah, they're like 1-40. Yeah, they're 1-11 in the conference. So
yeah. So Sleep, I do think you have to win one or two of these games. But if you do lose both of them, and you go on an ACC tournament run, and you happen to beat, a quad one opponent there, the neutral court situation is a little different than home and away. I could see us getting in that way, but if we lose both these games and we don't make a little bit of a run in the tournament, I do not see us getting in. I would say that's our pretty much our only way of getting in the tournament. Right now, we've got to win one or two of those games, and we cannot lose to Miami at home because that is a quad four.
And then the only other question I have is a game like this against Pitt. Pitt's, like you said, respectable, right about where we are in the net rankings. Does it matter that you win a close game? Does that take into account any? So let's say you beat, let's say you got to eke one out against Miami, or pick one of these other games that was close that maybe we should have won by a wider margin. Is that play in at all?
I would hope not. They always say that there's no pictures beside your score, and you always joke. You say it's not a beauty contest, and I laugh. And I know what you're saying. A lot of people right now, they're looking at that kind of that Boston College game where Boston College isn't a strong opponent, and we kind of eke that one out. I do not think that there's you get extra points for blowing teams out or winning close games. I just think that they'll base it upon your schedule and not how bad you beat teams or, if you just barely beat teams.
Yeah. This technically the way it's supposed to work. It's funny, too, because the only other thing I go back to is I remember at the beginning of the year, we played that exhibition against Memphis. And I was asking if that would help in any way. Maybe someone's mind. I never realized that, I never wanted that game to be a regular season game so bad. Because that certainly would have helped if it had been instead of an exhibition. But yeah, I mean, look, at least I don't know. There's two things I'm looking at as a fan, right? One is our path is very discreet at this point. Win those two games, don't lose any more bad ones, and do the best you can in the tournament, and you got a shot. Don't do that. Lose to a game, probably lose. In reality, I think if you lose any of these other games, and if you don't beat Clemson and Duke, like you said, you got to win one of them. But if you lose any of these other games, I think at least it rips the Band-Aid off. And now it's like, you as a fan, at least you ain't got to stress out anymore. You really know what's going on. So, I think it was, and let's not forget, we're getting ready to get into the recap of the Pitt game. at the end, you're coming off of a bad loss at Duke. Could have gone either way, I think, because, they got just totally outmatched there and could have no-showed to a team you just lost to, right? So that's the one thing I think about this team that maybe doesn't get enough credit from the fan base is I think it's obvious the team isn't performing the way everybody hoped they would. But they haven't laid down and quit, so they're frustrating to watch at times and all these kinds of things. But to come back from Duke and just scratch it out, you can argue that it was not pretty, but it's also kind of who the team is this year, right? So a win is a win, and we'll take all that we can get. And got the big one coming up next. But let's jump into the Pitt game because it was close. It was a close call there, but like I said, a needed one.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sleep, you make a great point. I was really interested to see how this team was going to respond after getting blown out by Duke at Duke. And the reason I say that is because this season has been rocky. There's been, not a lot of great wins, a lot of tough losses, a lot of close games we didn't win. And we go out to our rival, we get blown out, and then I'm sitting here wondering, how is this team going to respond? Now, we have a week of practice. I don't know if guys are upset, how guys are going to respond after just getting blown away at Duke. And, I've got to admit, I felt like we came out and we played hard. And one thing I will say about this game right here is I felt like our shot selection was much better. I felt like we made an emphasis of getting the ball inside more. And I'm not talking about, finding the big man down low, working through the post, playing through the post. That's not what I mean when I say play inside. There's multiple ways you can get the ball inside, whether that's dribble penetration, that's getting out in transition, pushing the ball more, or it could be your big, traditionally what you think about when you go inside, posting up, passing to him down low. Then we have off the ball movement, and the big can make a post move, or he can find the wings as they move off the ball and put themselves in better position to score. I felt like we had a lot more fluidity to our offense. So what I mean by that, it didn't just seem like our guards were pulling the big out for a high pick and roll, dribble penetrating, then dribble right into the defensive gaps, and then passing it to the next wing. And then they pound, dribble into a gap, and then we just keep repeating that same thing over and over. I felt like we made it more of an emphasis to go inside. And the one guy who I really felt like played well was Lubin. Ven-Allen Lubin, I thought he had a great game. I thought there was nothing sexy about it. He just put himself in position. He found, spots that were open, and he moved well. He put himself around the rim to get little dump-offs. He made good movement off the ball right there, just where the guards could find him real quick and he can go up and score. And I thought that was super important to this team. And I do feel like we penetrated and moved better without the ball. I felt like, especially at the Duke game, we had one guard that was penetrating, trying to create something, when other guards around the perimeter were just kind of standing still. To create your own shot in basketball, that is one of the most difficult things to do. Not many NBA-level players create their own shots. When you talk about players that can create their own shot off the dribble, you're talking about Carmelo Anthony, you're talking about KD, you're talking about Steph, you're talking about the all-time great players. That's what really separates them, the ability to create their own shot, even while they're being defended with not a lot of movement from the other players on offense as well. That is a high-level play, and we didn't rely on that, because relying on that type of offense is very low-percentage basketball, and I've coined it the term hero basketball. That's where we rely on a guy to shoot a contested shot that is almost impossible to make, and he makes it, but that level of play is not sustainable. I call it hero basketball. I didn't felt like we didn't get into much hero plays this game. I felt like the guards were moving. I felt like we kind of got out in transition a little bit better. Our post play, I felt like we had deeper seals. We caught the ball closer to the rim, which, you know, when you catch the ball closer to the rim, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense, because if they do come to help, then you have better off the ball movement, where if a big catches it in the mid post, then you have to take a couple dribbles to really get yourself into scoring position. If you have a deep seal in the paint, that allows the post player to catch it and then go right to that right hand hook, the left hand hook, and it doesn't allow the double team to occur if they were going to trap in the post, because you catch it so deeply, the defense doesn't have time to come over with that double. And when we do that, it really puts a lot of pressure on our defense and allows us to have better spacing on the court when we play offense. I felt like at Duke, we were starting our offense 2 or 3 feet behind the three-point line. Now, when you start your offense behind the three-point line 2 or 3 feet, you really don't even have any like scoring presence. You're not putting pressure on the defense, and you're going to just lead to multiple turnovers because you're playing so far from the basket that you really don't have a lot of players in scoring position because you're so pushed far out. And honestly, Sleep, we don't have a player on this team that's going to be consistent making a shot 2 or 3 feet behind the three-point line. And so I just felt like we made a much better we had a much better offensive presence this game. I felt like we shot higher quality shots. I felt like the ball movement was a little bit better. We didn't have lackadaisical turnovers, and that's what I take away from this game. Now, this game was super important. Like we said, Pitt's net ranking was 47th. We're 45th. And so, even though they won at Pitt, at least when it comes to talking about whether we should get in or Pitt should get into the NCAA tournament, now it puts us at a level playing field. And and I know, if you're on that committee and you're talking about Pitt or North Carolina, now a lot of people aren't going to like to hear this, but this is the truth. Ticket sales. I always go to North Carolina. They have a bigger base. They're going to sell more tickets. And that's not the reason they're going to let us in. But you've got to think that carries some weight with the committee.
But it's a tiebreaker.
Yeah. They UCLA or, let's just say Oregon State, of course, you're going to look at that in some capacity. It's going to be in the back of their mind. They might not voice it, but it's there. Sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good point about so Lubin obviously had a great game. I'll get to RJ in a second, but your point about starting the offense out so far out extended beyond the floor, I feel like also it's hard for a lot of guys. I mean, I even watch this in the NBA it's hard to set effective screens out that far because your defense can sort of sag off and recover. And you notice a lot of that. It seems like they start running their screen 30 feet from the basket. Then it's hard to set a tight screen out there because, you just got so much space to play and recover. So I noticed that a lot too. And especially like deep in the shot clock, you're 10. I always look, obviously between the two of us, I think you've probably forgotten more today than I've ever known about basketball, but it just does seem that when I watch, I always pay attention to how many times, we don't even start what seems like our offensive set until there's less than 10 seconds of shot clock. There's a lot of movement or really don't even get the ball inside the 3-point line until there's less than 10 on the shot clock. And that's one of my sort of pet peeves of basketball. I see it sometimes with us and I see it, I watch a lot of, like I said, NBA and stuff. And that's when that's how I can kind of identify your hero basketball part, right? And your point about how great you just have to be to consistently create your own shot. And I think at this level of basketball, it's who everyone kind of like wants to be, right? And so I think you see a lot more of it than is realistically sustainable, as you say. Lubin had a great game. The thing that stood out to me is RJ. This is like the kind of game where we, I think, expected RJ to just have, and it was like ho hum, nothing special. But he's 6 of 12, 3 of 5 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line, 18 points, leads the team in scoring. Big bucket at the end, right? This is if better late than never. Like if RJ can turn the corner and start putting out games like this, then you got to expect a guy like Ian Jackson's going to come along, have a little bit better game. I mean, even though Cadeau didn't score the ball, he had 7 assists, knew his role, right? Drake Powell, a lot of good minutes off the bench, and and Washington didn't do a whole lot from the stat perspective, but maybe that takes some pressure off him coming off the bench and playing more of a fill-in role. But look, at the end of the day, this game was between two teams that had to have a win, and we got to win. So you can say what you want about the score. I think you're lying to yourself if you think all of a sudden Carolina's just going to flip some switch and start steamrolling people. So at this stage, man, it's just about survival and who's going to grit their teeth and win games and try to get into the tournament. So that's my takeaway from it. Big one. I mean, like we were just talking about, you got to win one of the two at Clemson or at home against Duke. And I mean, we're gonna find out Monday. I mean, Duke coming off a win at Clemson coming off a win at home over Duke. Here's why I like that. And this goes back to sort of the not supposed to matter, right? About, Carolina ticket sales sort of comment. But hey, is Clemson sort of susceptible because they're coming off this big emotional win? Is that just a made up thing? I mean, Clemson's a good basketball team. So that wasn't the upset of the century. I mean, Clemson's easily the second best team in the ACC, right? But is the door open a little bit? I mean, if you're Hubert Davis, are you going in there and telling these guys, like, making them believe a little extra that, hey, look, it's hard to come off a win like that. Banner win this season. Basically just stamp their way to the tournament for sure. There is no way they're not in, right? Clemson, that is. So I don't know. I guess what's your thought process as Carolina heads in to Clemson and one of the two opportunities that they have of a must win? Could really turn things around if they win this game.
Yeah, and Sleep, that is a great point, and that's something I've been telling a lot of people. Do I think Coach Davis should walk in and be like, guys, we got him? No, I do not believe in that.
Yeah, that was kind of a dumb question.
I
think you know what I meant.
Listen, I always like a team when they're hungry, and I don't voice that. I want them to go in there pissed off, knowing that, hey, we've got to do whatever we've got to do to win this game. And we've got to be focused. We've got to be laser locked. This is about us, not really about them and what they're doing. But Sleep, with that said, I was hoping they would beat Duke. And obviously I wish that a lot, whoever's playing Duke. But I was really pulling for Clemson because I felt like if they lost to Duke, they would be a little bit more focused and ready for us. And I don't think that Clemson was going to lose 2 in a row. So Clemson is a good team. They're a good team. Now, let's not forget, they beat Duke at Clemson, and they've also beat Kentucky at Clemson. Clemson is a tough team. They have, first of all, their net ranking is, I want to say, 30. They're quad one. I think they're like in the 30. They may be 30 in the net rankings. I don't have it in front of me. But they have two bigs in Shefflin and Victor Locken. Victor Locken had an enormous game against Duke, 22. They were very physical inside. And actually, for as long and as big as Duke is, I really felt like they won the game from the physicality and their post-interior presence out of Shefflin and Victor Locken. Both of them I felt like just kind of bruised and banged Duke around a little bit, and I think that's where they really won the game at. So the first order of business is rebounding. In Shefflin is the second leading rebounder in the ACC. We cannot allow him to get offensive rebound after offensive rebound. He's very good at ball pursuit and finding the ball, getting it, and then kicking it to his teammates, or he'll put his shoulder down and go right back to the rim, get his own rebound, go right back up, and keep getting these little tip-ins. We've got to be locked into him, and it is not on one player. It is on the whole committee. We've got to rebound as a committee, and we can't just say, look at our front court and be like, guys, listen, you guys got to rebound today. No, everybody's got to rebound. All 5 players on that court need to be locked into rebounding. In the second order of business against Clemson, we cannot start this game in a deficit. We've got to start this game ready. When we went into Cameron, we got down 32 points in the first half. That is unacceptable, and we will not win any game if we start the game like we did in Clemson. You've got to be ready from the start, and you can't have lackadaisical turnovers. What I mean by that is you can't start the game with unforced, careless passes that's just going to be to nobody, that's just going to lead to turnovers, and it's just going to put Clemson in transition and really ignite their offense and get their confidence flowing. Because Little John Arena, where Clemson plays, that place can get rocking. And if we allow to let their fans get into it and make it a crazy atmosphere and really let Clemson get their confidence up, we're really going to put ourselves in bad position, and most likely we're not going to leave there with the win. In the second order or going on down,
it's the third order of business, and I got to tell you that. Yeah, keep going.
Third. Okay.
SleepHawk got a hater for not knowing how to count. Yeah. Go ahead.
And so, listen, they have their best player is actually Chase Hunter. He is a very solid guard. He can score, take people off the dribble, great from the free throw line, great 3-point shooter. We've got to be locked into him, and we cannot allow him to get easy buckets. So that's going to be a tough task. He's going to get points, but we can't allow him to get easy buckets, which gives him his confidence, which leads him to making hero shots. We've got to make everything tough for him. And also, we've got to start being physical. Okay, what I mean by that is just because we're a small team and we lack length, we don't need to go out there and get bullied. Okay, we need to go out there and we need to put our elbows up, box out, make everything physical and tough. Just because we lack a little height doesn't mean that we can't put a little shoulder on somebody or make the game physical and really put a lot of pressure on them defensively and make them turn the ball over, which is going to put us out in transition. And we've got to play with an up-tempo style. We can't allow to sit here and get in the half-court sets and just allow in Shefflin and Victor Locken to really make a huge impact on this game. Let's go ahead and make them work. Let's make them run the court and make them run hard. That way they'll be out of breath. They'll be, by late in the second, they'll be catching their wind and trying to catch their breath as we're just starting to go and we'll get some easy buckets. That's how we win this game at Clemson Sleep.
No, that sounds great. I mean, they're a complete team, and I think we have a team that is complete. We have complete pieces, obviously lack size. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's like you don't have a big man. But I even look at the last game, we have yet to see, really, Carolina just put it all together. And, if we put it all together in the right game, we're going to beat a lot of teams. I mean, R.J. Davis, still R.J. Davis. Ian Jackson, great player, right? Seth Trimble, guy's gone out and scored 30 in a game this year, right?
Yeah.
So it can happen, and I'm with you, man. Just got to get, get some confidence in who you are, the old name on the front of the jersey. So as we, we'll kind of get out of here on this, but digging more into that Clemson Duke game. Get off Carolina here for a minute, and of course, by the time you guys come back next week, the Syracuse game will be behind us too. But we figure that's far enough in the future that let's focus on the first one. One is in front of us, and we'll chat about that one next week. So Duke and Clemson game is a big deal. Clemson could win the conference. I mean, we just talking about it here, right? We before the show or before we started, we were looking at Duke's remaining schedule and pretty much Clemson's only hope is us, right? To upset Duke, and then Clemson will win the tiebreak because they're the only. I think they only played one game this year against each other, and obviously Clemson won it. So I don't know what was your takeaway in that game? Did it? Dude, it sucks to say it, but damn, Duke is good, right? I mean, they look real strong, and what were your takeaways from that? I think as a Carolina fan, what are their vulnerabilities, and help us all realize that, or help us all just convince ourselves that they're not the favorite to win it all.
You know what, Sleep? I went on Phil 68 the other day, and I said, guys, Duke is really good. They're a contender.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened the next day?
Love it.
They lost at Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Guys.
Math ain't mathin'.
Guys, Duke is very good. They're a contender. Okay?
Clemson is too. I mean, God, they might win it all.
All right. So if I'm breaking this game, I'll watch the whole game. First of all, the one thing I will say, so Duke has 3 losses: Kansas, Kentucky, and Clemson. And in all 3 of those losses, it came down to one possession games. And what did Duke fail to do? They failed to convert when they needed to on those last possession plays. And I get it, Cooper Flagg lost his footing. He slipped on the floor. But listen, they lost that way against Kentucky. And also Kansas came down to those last possession plays. They've lost 3 games in those last possession plays. And I really felt like listen, and I hate to say this, but you got to give Shire credit. He's arguably the coach of the year. He deserves to be in the conversation if he isn't.
100%.
And they're relying on Cooper Flagg to do too much ISO ball. And I really feel like they have a lot of weapons, but just giving the ball to Flagg at the end of the game like they did in these 3 losses and expecting him to create his own shot, I just feel like they could get a little more action and disguise an ISO a little bit better. I think they're putting too much pressure on Flagg to make plays late in the game like that. Now, if you watch the game, Flagg had some unbelievable plays. I mean, he was the reason that this game came down to one possession. He didn't really have his best game in the first half, but late in the second, when they really needed buckets, he converted. But they're relying too much on Flagg and ISO, and they relied too much on him in these last possession games where they've lost all 3 of them. They've got to do something better. But Clemson beat them up on the interior. In Shefflin, Victor Lockton, they went out there and they played like bullies. Mayu Watch fouled out, 7'2" freshman. And even though he has great length, athleticism, he's going to be a top 5, 10 pick in the NBA next year. But they went out there and they kind of bullied him. And the reason, I'm looking at things for what Duke really their flaws are. I don't really think they handled the physicality all that well. If you look at the game, Knipple, even when they got physical, he had a Grayson Allen moment in that game. And listen, Knipple is nowhere. He does not deserve. Yeah. I do not view Knipple like I view
not
Grayson
dirty
Allen.
Player. Yeah.
I don't hate him
yet.
I mean, there's some potential there, but I'm not like, Knipple, I hate you, Nah, it was just like one of those plays where I'm like, he's turning in a little bit of a dookie. He tripped somebody right there, got a flagrant one. I didn't think that Duke handled the physicality that Clemson brought, and I really felt like Clemson won this game on the interior with their rebounding. Going inside, Victor Lockton had 22 points. I felt like he was too much for him down low, and I think that's why Clemson walked away with the dub.
Yeah, it's a great point there on Flagg at the end. I mean, because I agree with you. I think Shire's done a great job. Hate to say all this, but you got to call it what it is. But yeah, even good coaches, even good teams, when they got a good player, they tend to rely on it. And you just talked about it. So the theme of the show here is this hero ball situation, right? Like, pretty easy decision who you want to have the ball in their hands, right? Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you just put the ball in their hands and see what happens. So, great game, fun to watch. Always fun to watch Duke lose, and I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes with Carolina. And then, we also got to keep, I think the worst thing we could do is beat Clemson and then turn around and let the wheels fall off somewhere else. So, I mean, look, we just keep doing what we can do. It is the absolute definition of one game at a time if you're a Carolina fan right now. You got 2 paths in. One, make some semblance of the rest of the schedule. our or result to the tournament. And I don't want to get off because that's but the other thing to think about in the tournament is like you got a down year in the ACC. So I mean, the odds of being able to get deep into the ACC tournament maybe are a little higher than they usually are. But anyway, got the Super Bowl tonight, Big Hawk. I can't believe that no one gave me credit or like thought about my Sleepstradamus here of my Kelsey and Taylor Swift prediction from a couple weeks ago. Like it was all over the news. I sent it to you, and I even sent it to old Johnny Crabcakes, and he didn't even seem to care. Guys, I said 3 weeks ago, what's going to happen tonight? All right, and by the time we talk again, Chiefs will be Super Bowl champions, and Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift are going to be engaged. Man, they're going to get engaged. He's going to propose after the game on the stage, and now it's like it's making its rounds on E and all these weird People magazine. Dude, I called that shit. I called it. So, you heard it here first, whether you want to admit it or not. Maybe nobody heard it, but I certainly said it first. So, that's again here. You got any bets on the game? I got some squares and some props. And all that sort of stuff,
listen, Dan tried to hit me with $5.
Yeah, I got the last
pop.
5.
I don't know how many pop. Listen, Dan's running his own Ponzi scheme over there. I told him I'm not going to be part of it. I'm not going to do it, Big Dan. No, sir.
Man.
Listen, the Eagles are going to kick the Chiefs' ass tonight.
I agree. I really think so.
There's going to be no proposal. Listen, if there's a proposal, I'm buying fans out there crab cakes. So I'll send a few of our subscribers crab cakes if there's a proposal tonight.
All right. I mean, that's a deal because I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I really think the Eagles are just going to pound them, but I'm telling you, man, they want NFL. I don't buy into a lot of conspiracy theories, but NFL might have a script on this one. Steve Sharon, 1649, and All Need a Hero. Shout out. Those are my 2 haters. I was like, I got two haters on YouTube. It's awesome. It's like kind of at first I was all bent out of shape. One said that everything you say is great, and that I just need to shut up because all I do is run on sentences. And I was like, well, damn, dude, that hurt my feelings, Steve Sharon. But I told him, I said, hey, like and subscribe, see if I take your advice. And here I am, running on. If you made it this far, you got your run on sentence. And the other dude said something about me saying that miscalculating the number of games left in the record we have. He said I couldn't add. And I was like, well, brother, I got better education than you do. And I stop there. But yeah, I can't add. I mean, never came on here and said, hey, this is the damn pre-algebra worldwide. Okay. Anyway, man, I was like, I was all bent out of shape about it. My wife's like, dude, you got haters.
Yeah, dude. Keep hating, guys.
Proud of you. Yeah, keep hating, man.
Keep letting sleep have it on these.
Yeah.
Keep going at them.
You watch. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.